architect from Fujitsu. He's going to be talking to us about combining fixed and wireless backhaul technologies to optimize network performance. Okay. Hi there. Nice to meet you. Oops.
Okay. Thank you so much. Before I talk to you a little bit of by combining fixed and wireless, let me tell you a little bit about Fujitsu. It's a global company. Fujitsu is in optical, Ethernet, wireless. Fujitsu is the first company to deploy LTE in Japan. Slowly but surely, we're coming into North America with a lot of wireless products. Fujitsu is very, very well known in the transport layer in a lot of the operators' network in North America, for example. So this is not a new area for us in terms of wireline, but we are doing some very innovative things in the wireless space, and we're able to combine all of that together to optimize your network. All right. So just a little bit of background on transport, and this is not an exhaustive list. DSL, everybody knows DSL, T1E1, copper, all IP, backhaul, Ethernet, fiber, and now we're moving into the space of using a lot of alternatives to fiber, where we're finding places and pockets of applications where fiber is expensive, it's not easy to deploy, so then what do you do in those cases? This is where we are focusing our attention in terms of terrain to be able to combine fixed and wireless solutions together in optimizing your network. The key performance indicators are still the same. So for example, delay is still very important. Your latency requirements are still there. Jitter is still another thing that everybody worries about. Efficiency is also very, very important. Reach, as well as availability. So if you really look at these indicators, fiber is the king. Wherever you can find it, fiber is almost the best thing that you can have. But fiber is not always available. That's an issue. Is fiber very expensive in some cases? So alternatives where you need them, where you want to have them, is always very, very, very important. So what are the drivers for a combination of these two, fixed and wireless backhaul? The first one that I'm putting across to us is lower transport cost. We run into tier 2, tier 3 universities. They don't have money for fiber, but they want a backhaul, efficient backhaul, enough bandwidth. So cost is an issue, very, very big issue. Well, in the case where you already have your network deployed, and now a new application comes into play, and you need to quickly expand your network, add more capacity to your backhaul, and you don't want to dig the ground. You don't want to go and look for licenses. The rapid network growth is really testing many of our networks today. So that's another driver. The first responders, there are places, we had cases in Hawaii where the lava is flowing and suddenly it's going to cross the street and cut off one section of town from the other. And we need to rapidly deploy a backhaul solution. So for most public safety responders, having that mixture is always very important, so that when one goes down, you have the opportunity to bring something back up. Managing your capacity is also another thing that we worry about. Performance and reliability. We don't want a backhaul, though it's cheap, but then it's not going to be able to meet all the drivers that I showed earlier. Reach, availability, jitter, latency. That's another driver. We want the performance and the reliability of what you're putting together for that network. One of the key applications that we're finding also is the outdoor small cells deployment. If you deploy small cells in a park, how do you transport the data back to your core when fiber is not available, for example? So we're finding some very, very unique applications where we can mix these two different backhauls that we have. And finally, smartphone is driving everybody crazy. Kids today, they are surfing everywhere, so the data that is coming to the network is really big. So in places where you need to have efficient backhaul, a mixture of both is very, very important. I just want to give you a unique view of evolution of backhaul. And Fujitsu is well placed to be able to define this. In the past, it has always been, from the access, take the data back to your core. Done. That's backhaul. But what we are seeing is that backhaul is no longer defined as it used to be. We're finding that backhaul is now being broken into what we term front haul, and then mid haul, and then the regular backhaul. And so it has really changed the way we really now define what is really, really a backhaul. Right? And Fujitsu is well placed to play in this region because we already have existing deployments in many of the networks today. So whether it's a passive activity, we're in that space. Whether it's active, we know what it is. And if you want to play wireless, we are right in there too. And then we look at this as an entire solution where we are able to tie from the access all the way back to your core. This is a very nice picture in CRAN, how we see CRAN for front haul, as well as mid haul, as well as back haul. Now, there are some critical features that will enable you to be able to do this mixture. Because if you just wake up and you pull a wireless deployment somewhere, how will that interact with what you already have? And so one of the few things that we have spent a lot of time to develop is network planning tool. We're able to come into an environment, plug in our parameters, look at what your backhaul, whether it's fixed, looks like today, and then build for you an efficient wireless backhaul network that will reduce your cost, that will have the reach, the availability, as well as so many other parameters that were built into this tool. This is a great tool that we've been pitching all around so that operators who are interested in mixing and matching their solutions can really actually figure out what they are paying for before they even start. So an efficient network planning tool is key. Another thing is your element manager. So when you have wired and you have wireless, you should be able to manage both at the same time. How do I see what is going on in the wireless and the wired? We've built efficient and integrated element managers to be able to look at both at the same time. And then some other ones are, what are your interfaces, right? Ethernet, CPRI, OPSI, ORI. To be able to do this mix and match, you need the array of interfaces so that you are not limited in one area versus the other one, depending on what's available. Another critical feature that we're finding is that because of the areas where this will be deployed, you want a compact solution, something that is easy to install, easy to operate. And so we have innovative solutions in fixed one, in millimeter wave radios that are very small in form factor, so that when you need to really mount them, it doesn't take you a long time. Remember I showed you the drivers, low latency. So if you have a wireless solution that has a long latency, then it's not going to be very, very useful in critical solutions where you need to meet the latency that fiber has. So we built systems that very low latency. Another last one is you want something that will compete with fiber. If it's on the order of gigabits, now it will be able to compete with what fiber is able to provide for you. So in Fujitsu, we are really focused on a number of this as we develop innovative products on the wireless side to be able to serve as backhaul solutions. Right? So where do we see many of these opportunities for a mix and match of the fixed and wireless? Regional service providers, they're one of our key areas that we're focusing on. The utilities, that's another area. Educational institutes, and I will show you some of the applications where we have actually, in many cases, deployed some of this. Regional fixed carriers, the Duke Energies of the world, the government, as they deploy their FirstNet or first responder solutions, we are finding they want to lower the cost but still have the backhaul. They're talking to us a great deal. And then another interesting one is tower operators. They deploy towers and they have their RRH and antenna up there, but they're looking for additional ways of making money. They're talking to us about deploying some of these wireless backhaul solutions to connect point-to-point or hopping so that costs can be reduced. You don't need to go and build a tower to have the line of sight they already have. So in a number of these areas, there are opportunities for a mix and match of these wireless solutions as well as wireline. Some applications. In fiber redundancy, for example. You have the fiber, but you want a path so that if something goes wrong with your fiber, you have an alternative so that you are not lost. Your network is still in place. Inter-building networks, banks in the middle of Manhattan, they need more data, they need more backhaul, but to go and start digging New York is expensive. These solutions are very, very attractive. Fiber alternatives, you just need to go across a river, for example. Well, you can either go under the river, dig under the river, or just use point-to-point radios as your backhaul to carry your data back through. And also in disaster recovery, as I was explaining earlier, we had a scenario in Hawaii where the lava is flowing, communication is going to get cut off. We really need to quickly deploy backhaul solutions. In these areas, we are finding new opportunities for us to be able to deploy a mixture of wire and wireless solution for your backhaul. Some examples. This is a campus where the tall building is where they have the wired backhaul solutions, but they have multi-campuses around where if you need to start digging from each of these areas to bring your data back to the central location, it's going to cost them a fortune. Here's a solution where we're able to use point-to-point radios as backhaul for wireless, for their wireless traffic from each of these campuses back to the central tower, the main campus. Very efficient, very cost-effective. The availability is there, the reach is there, as well as the critical infrastructure is not affected. They don't have to dig their campus. They were able to transport their data back to where they have wired connection, mixing the two together efficiently. And this is in the order of 3 gig, for example. So it's not something that is very, very small. You have multi-gigabit of transport. I'm showing you another example of one of the configurations that were put together to be able to map into about 12 gig of data traffic. We have these radios that are able to do about 3 gigabits per second of data rate, and we have also put a configuration together where we can support up to 12 gig of transport. If you think about it, that's a big chunk that you have for your data transport. So wireless transport is no longer a key thing. We were able to build networks efficiently that will map into what fiber is able to do today. All right. On the C-RAN, for example, we're finding opportunities where various operators can actually share a topology where we lay a wireless backhaul network for you, and then many operators can actually share that, creating different business opportunities as we move forward. So, I mean, it creates a carrier opportunity to sell the backhaul, turnkey backhaul connectivity for small mobile operators. They don't have to go and start this all over again. It's a small business model in the range of 5x of what you will see today. And it's optimized for both the wire and wireline. So it's just the application that we're finding, and these things are very, very good. So finally, what we're finding is that there are unique applications where the backhaul is actually evolving what the definition means. So that what used to be your normal or traditional backhaul, the terrain is changing with the applications that we're seeing today, right? Innovations in radio technology is really helping us to expand that transport so that we have alternative to fiber that can compete with fiber in a very, very cost-effective manner. We have solutions that have high capacity, low latency, low power, and compact form factor, so that in the areas where you need to deploy them, it's very easy to put up, very easy to manage. You can connect it back to your wireline solution. And finally, they're creating nice and new business opportunities. So if you're interested in starting a backhaul business, please talk to me. I'm done.
Thank you.
Any questions?